When the Second World War ended, the peoples of South and Southeast Asia turned their attention to attaining independence and to improving their way of life. 3/4 of these were members of the Commonwealth. There was no shortage of people, nor of the will to work, nor of land to work upon. What they needed was stability, finance, and know-how. 1/4 of the world's people just couldn't be allowed to go on indefinitely living in extreme poverty. Something had to be done to help. That something became the Colombo Plan. Knowing how closely her destinies are linked with those of South and Southeast Asia, New Zealand was among the first to offer her services in this cause. The year was 1950. Today, there are some 20 nations in this Colombo Plan fraternity, all concerned with the cooperative development of this vast area. One aspect of New Zealand's share in the Colombo Plan is the provision of facilities for students from member countries to learn new skills or to improve on skills already learned.
The arrival of Teal Flight 322 from Sydney.
Well, when I arrived at Wellington Airport, the weather was bad, and it was very bad for the morale. Airports everywhere are very much the same all over the world, I suppose, and I was still wondering what New Zealand was really like. I think everyone feels rather apprehensive. I was worried that the manners I had at home might not be acceptable here, but the presence of the student officer from the external aid with other Asian students to meet us there was in a way a comfort.
He wouldn't take no for an answer. I couldn't get rid of him, and I told him straight.
From the moment the students arrive, they're in the personal care of a student officer, whose first job is to make sure they're properly housed, either with approved private families or in Colombo Plan hostels.
How do you do, Miss Matthews? This is Zhuang from Vietnam.
I'm so pleased to meet you. I hope you'll be happy in New Zealand.
I'm sure I will.
I'm a fellow countryman of yours, and I shall call to meet you. Hun?
Yes,
There's a countryman of yours here. Will you come and meet him? Allow me to introduce you. Son, Hun.
Oh, anh mới ở Sài Gòn qua hả?
Tôi mới Sài Gòn.
Thế anh đi có mệt không?
Cũng gì.
Qua đến học gì?
Đi học phút.
Tôi Hân ở Palmston. Tôi xuống chơi vài ngày.
The problem of suitable clothes is disposed of by a shopping tour, but it's all rather heavy going unless and until they have a working knowledge of English. This is where the English Language Institute comes in, supplying a pressure cooker course in English designed to fit neatly between their arrival and start of term in March.
Mary's going to the shop to buy a dress.
Peter is going to buy a dress.
He's going to the picture to see a film.
He's going to the hairdresser to have a haircut. She's going to railway station to meet her friend.
They're going to the bank to draw some money.
They're going to the bank to draw some money.
I'm going to the library to read.
Interrupting you, would you stop your tape, please? On that last sentence, it was library to read, not library to lead.
I am going to the railway station to meet a friend.
She's going to the cafeteria to eat. I'm going to the railway station to meet a friend.
There's nothing wrong with his English.
The period November to March may mean hard work for the new intake, but for the established students of 2 to 4 years standing, it's mostly holiday time.
We came here not only to study from books, but also to see the life here. During the holidays, most of us go out into the country to see the sights and also to see the various workings of this country. We go on bus tours, sometimes organized by the External Aid Division, and we meet the people.
ทำไมแกไม่ขึ้นไปเดินอยู่บนไอ้ชั้นๆนั่นได้เนี่ยรู้สึกเขาจะทำนะ ไม่อ่ะแต่
We go to places like Rotorua and see the natural beauties and wonders.
ตายด้วยโคลนเดือดนะ
We have heard of people saying that Singapore, for example, is very stinking. But I do not think it will ever be like boiling mud smells, which is so unique in Rotorua. In one of our visits to a Maori village, we met many kindly and hospitable Maoris. We spent the night at the marae, where the atmosphere all along was informal. The Maoris performed their traditional poi dances and so on, and to return the compliments, we showed them our own traditional dances.
นู่นสิฮะ
ไหนอะ
นู่นนะ
อ๋อนกใช่ไหมนกอะไร
เขาเรียกนกขาคาฮะเหมือนนกแก้วมากทีเดียว
เหมือนจ้ะแต่สีมอมอ
สีหอม
แต่
นี่เอาเบียร์ให้
But when the holiday periods are over, we go back to our own respective study course all over New Zealand in nearly all fields of study.
Structure of the ruminant stomach. Actually, it consists of 4 compartments: the rumen, reticulum, omasum, and aberrasum. Of these, perhaps the first 2, the reticulo-rumen, are the more important. This region here, the reticulo-rumen, acts as a large fermentation tank. The trachea, the resin ducts that you'll find there, and I want you to compare longitudinal radial sections with longitudinal tangential sections.
Here we have an example of red mite on pip tree, but in this case the mite has built up a resistance, and because of that resistance we're using a lot of more dangerous sprays than we used to, and because of that the operator must be carefully protected.
Pressure drop suddenly increases and the nature of the liquid flow changes. But it's very difficult to see what happens.
How do they fare, these young men and women from strange, faraway lands? How do they compare with our own students? To answer these questions, it's important to realize how much is being asked of these young people. He or she may be a Muslim or Buddhist, seldom having come in contact with Europeans, until the day when he finds himself in a country where all things are different and strange: religion, language, climate and customs. And yet, in spite of all this, and with a minimum of fuss and bother, you have a 4A student at university within a year.
Sociology, we use the terms folkways, mores and law to denote the degree of sanction attached to different norms. Now the term folkways in sociology is used to cover those norms in a society for which the sanctions tend to be relatively mild and less severe. Compared to the folkways, the mores have much more fundamental moral obligations involved. They are usually widely believed to be essential for holding society together.
In the classes and around the campuses, we are together with the New Zealand students. However, we must not forget our own personalities, and so occasionally we get together, boys and girls from all the various countries, and do our dances, sing our songs, just to satisfy ourselves that we, after all, belong to the Asian culture. This part of the Colombo Plan is very good because although we are neighbors, we have not met in our own countries, and this leads to great understanding.
This is the story of a young woman whose husband has left for war while she waits at home and nurses a newborn child.
But the most important thing is that we have come to work. John Young, for instance, from Sarawak, is learning automatic telephone exchanges, and he will go back to Sarawak to establish and run automatic telephone exchanges in that area. Thor studies seed testing. On returning to Vietnam, he will be responsible to setting up and running a seed testing plant. Others have come to study dentistry, which is very important to us too. Judith Teo, with 10 others from Malaysia, studies in a dental nursing school in Wellington. Ahmad from Pakistan is sent here to study cheese making. He too will return and set up a cheese industry in Pakistan. Mrs. Sudarso from Indonesia is in charge of 16 midwife clinics in Central Java. She is here on a postgraduate course. Sartono is a qualified teacher from Indonesia who is here on a postgraduate course. When he returns to his own country, he will lecture at a teacher's training college there. There are also students for more specialized fields of study. Muslima from Malaya has been studying here for 2 years in the teaching of the blind children. There are 3 schools for the blind in Malaya, but there are no teacher training facilities. Southeast Asia is largely an agricultural country. One of the main fields of study, therefore, is in agriculture. Francis Liu studies agricultural science at Lincoln College, and he has to do a compulsory 40 weeks practical work. Muhammad Tajuddin bin Junaidi, otherwise known to us as Ted, studies for his Bachelor of Agricultural Science at Lincoln College. During the holidays, he does practical work on the Waikato farm. At last, the time's come for us to leave. After 3 or 4 or even 5 years study, we have the graduation, and one of the great episodes in our life is over. When we came, we did not know whether we had the capabilities to go through with it, and so this bit of paper gave us great satisfaction of ourselves, our families, and our countries. Being granted our degrees or diplomas, we can now go home where we must face a new challenge. We must leave many friends behind, and we hope also something else, understanding and our appreciation. We hope that we have given something to New Zealand and not just taken, because the Colombo Plan is for the mutual benefit of all of us. We leave, and others are already arriving to carry on the good work, and they too will return, and together we will work for the benefit of our countries.